Excuse me, is this seat only for the rich? The words trembled in the cold December air, barely louder than a whisper. Meadow stood at the edge of the table, her worn coat hanging loose on her thin frame, snowflakes melting in her blonde hair. The cafe glowed with crystal chandeliers and warmth she hadn't felt in months. Her fingers clutched a crumpled $5 bill, all she had left after 3 auditions that week. Around her, well-dressed strangers laughed over wine and desserts that cost more than her weekly grocery budget. The man at the table looked up slowly. Harrison Blackwell, 33, CEO of Blackwell Industries, sat alone beneath the golden lights, staring at an untouched cup of coffee. His dark suit was impeccable, his watch expensive, but his eyes carried the kind of emptiness money couldn't fill. For a long moment, he simply looked at her, not with judgment, but with something softer, recognition perhaps, of loneliness. "No," he said quietly, gesturing to the empty chair across from him. "It's not." Meadow hesitated, glancing around. Every other table was full, couples and families celebrating Christmas Eve together. She'd only come in to escape the bitter cold, to sit somewhere warm for just an hour before her evening shift, singing at a small downtown bar. She hadn't expected kindness, not here, not from someone like him. She sat down carefully, as if the chair might break beneath her. Harrison watched her in silence, noticing the way she kept her hands in her lap, the way her eyes darted toward the door like she might need to run. He knew that feeling, the need to escape. "I'm Harrison," he said softly. "Meadow." Her voice was barely audible. She didn't mention her last name. She didn't have family to claim it anymore, not since her parents died in the car accident 2 years ago. Now she lived with her cousin Darla, sleeping on a worn couch, paying rent she could barely afford by singing covers at dive bars and waiting tables during the day. Darla never missed a chance to remind her she was a burden. Harrison signaled the waiter, "Bring her the menu, please, and whatever she orders, put it on my account." Meadow's eyes widened. "No, I can't." "You can," he said gently. "It's Christmas Eve. No one should be hungry tonight." Tears stung her eyes, but she blinked them back. When was the last time someone had been kind to her without wanting something in return? She ordered soup and bread, simple, modest. Harrison ordered nothing more for himself, but he stayed, and slowly, carefully, they began to talk. She told him about her music, how she sang old jazz standards at a bar called the Blue Note, how she dreamed of recording an album someday, but couldn't even afford a decent microphone. He listened, really listened, in a way that made her feel seen for the first time in years. "What about you?" she asked quietly. "Why are you here, alone?" Harrison's jaw tightened. He looked down at his coffee, at the ring he still wore on his left hand, even though it had been exactly 1 year. 1 year since Caroline died. 1 year since the car crash on Christmas Eve that took his wife and shattered his world. He hadn't celebrated since, hadn't wanted to. His father had left when he was 12, his mother passed when he was 25, and Caroline had been all he had left. Now there was just work, just empty rooms and silent nights. Because, his voice cracked slightly, because last Christmas I lost someone, and I thought, maybe if I came here, to the place we used to go, maybe it wouldn't hurt as much. Meadow reached across the table without thinking, her small hand covering his. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." They sat like that for a while, two strangers bound by grief, by loneliness, by the quiet understanding that sometimes the people who look like they have everything are the ones who have lost the most. Hours passed. The cafe began to empty. Meadow glanced at the clock. Her shift started in 30 minutes. She stood reluctantly. "I have to go, but thank you for the seat, for listening, for..." for making me feel like I matter." Harrison stood too. "You do matter, Meadow." He pulled out his wallet, not for money this time, but for a business card. He scribbled something on the back. "This is my personal number. If you ever need anything, a warm meal, help with your music, or just someone to talk to, call me." She stared at the card, disbelieving. "Why would you do this for me?" He smiled sadly. "Because someone once showed me kindness when I had nothing, and because I think we both needed to remember tonight that we're not as alone as we thought." Meadow clutched the card to her chest, tears streaming down her face now. "Merry Christmas, Harrison. Merry Christmas, Meadow." She walked out into the snow, but this time the cold didn't bite as hard. This time she felt warm. 3 months later, Harrison sat in a small recording studio he'd quietly rented. Meadow stood behind the glass, headphones on, singing a song she'd written about hope and second chances. Her voice soared, clear and achingly beautiful. He'd called her 2 weeks after that Christmas Eve, offering to help fund her first demo, not as charity, as an investment in something real. But what he hadn't told her yet, what he'd only just discovered himself, was that the Blue Note, the bar where she sang every night, was owned by a man named Vincent Shaw. Vincent had been his mother's closest friend, the one who'd helped Harrison through college when his father abandoned them, the one who'd quietly paid for his mother's medical bills when she got sick. Harrison had lost touch with him over the years, consumed by work and grief. But when he'd gone to see Meadow perform one night, he'd seen Vincent's name on the deed. The man who'd shown him kindness was the same man giving Meadow a stage to sing on. The connection felt impossible, fated maybe. As Meadow finished her song, she stepped out of the booth, her eyes shining. "Did you hear that? Did you hear it?" Harrison smiled, a real smile, the first in a year. "I heard it. The whole world's going to hear it, Meadow." She hugged him suddenly, fiercely, and in that moment, Harrison realized something. Healing didn't mean forgetting. It meant finding new reasons to hope, new people to care about. And maybe, just maybe, Caroline would have wanted this for him, to keep living, to keep giving, to keep finding light in the dark. Meadow pulled back, wiping her eyes. "You know what's funny? That night at the cafe, I almost didn't ask. I almost walked away because I thought someone like you wouldn't want someone like me at your table." Harrison shook his head. "That seat was never just for the rich, Meadow. It was for anyone brave enough to ask, for anyone willing to believe they deserved kindness." He paused, his voice soft. "You taught me that again." She smiled through her tears. "And you taught me that asking for help isn't weakness, it's courage." They stood there in the quiet studio, two souls who'd found each other in the coldest season, proof that kindness doesn't cost anything but means everything. That sometimes the smallest act, a shared seat, a warm meal, a listening ear, can change the entire direction of someone's life. Because kindness isn't about what we can afford to give, it's about what we choose to share when we see someone who needs it. And that choice, that simple human choice, is the only thing that truly makes us rich.